preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new edition of the DADS, Not Always on Wrestling. And, we're a couple weeks removed from our last show where we discussed No Way Out, which was the Monday after the Chamber. We are in crunch time now here, Meacham. We are literally less than a month away from WrestleMania.
After last night in San Francisco, this whole month is going to be just.
And it kind of inspired our topic and our way of thinking for this topic.
It did.
We wanted to discuss with WrestleMania on the horizon, and not all these matches happened at WrestleMania.
Oh, no, of course not.
But what are the greatest feuds in wrestling history?
Yeah, no. Mania will be our show in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to choose from on that one. We'll plug that later.
Yeah.
But
we've got the greatest feuds on deck, and it really got our brains rolling, the wheels just turning. I can imagine Pinky from Pinky and the Brain just running around on the hamster wheel, trying to generate. What is your criteria? What do you look for? And for me, I think one of the things that I really look for is longevity.
Okay.
We always talk here on the CASA and the entire multiverse of media about long-term storytelling.
Yes.
And while there have been some great feuds that were blips on the radar, I think for me, for it to be top 10 worthy,
right,
it had to have some legitimate long-term stories here.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I feel it's just a rivalry.
Yeah.
And there's a couple honorable mentions that I will give once I do my list that I thought of more as like a rivalry than anything, which is why I didn't make my feud list, even though there may have been some long-term storytelling to them.
Right.
I don't ever really think it was a feud. It was more of a game of one-upsmanship, and anything you can do, I can do better, a rivalry.
Right, that makes sense.
So, like I said, I'll talk about some of those. Definitely one that I've got in my head. Maybe as the time goes on, I'll get a couple others pop into my brain, though.
Yeah,
but it's a good meat and potatoes topic that I don't think has really been done to death.
At least not on this channel or any of our channels that we associate with. And you have to remember, this is our wrestling-centric month. You're doing movies with wrestlers all month. Both dad shows are wrestling because everything we do on this channel at this stage of the game, especially I done turned 40. I'm over that bullshit last week. I got through it. Thank God.
Since we're on air, actually sitting here together, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Again, open mic night was what it was Saturday after. I took the day off. I took those days off because I was figuring out being in San Francisco this last week. I didn't get to go, but it is what it is. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Anytime I get to do anything like that, it's always fun. So it's all good. But, everything, all roads now lead to Inglewood, SoFi Stadium. And
we showed you just how close the Forum was to SoFi when we were there for AEW a couple months ago.
Yes, and thank you for the order, by the way.
Oh, no problem.
The whole thing actually today, because my version of this came in the mail, but it didn't happen yet in real life because we real time taping ahead as we do. But it's one of those. Number one, I said it when it was first announced in 2020 that we were going to get it in 2020, and it didn't happen. It's literally in my old backyard. I might as well have been born at the damn Forum. Damn near happened.
I know.
So. To be able to not only go to my first WrestleMania in LA area proper, but for it to be right there, where these colors, where this lettering, where this entire logo thing happened for me for so long. I'm emotional enough for turning 40 as it is, because damn it all. I'm an emotional enough person to begin with.
Yeah, this
number
is
two. But it's one of those, the theme for WrestleMania 2013 was, I'm going home. I'm coming home from Diddy, and I forget the other guy.
Diddy, Dirty Money.
No, it was Diddy, but there was also somebody else involved on that too. I forget who the other artist was. So forgive me, but I am going home. It really is. WrestleMania is coming home for me, but I get to go literally across the street from the Forum, and it's going to be a very emotional, very long week because you figure I'll either be in the area of the Forum or in the area of the Crypt, and it's just going to be a thing, and I'm looking forward to it. And you talk about long-term storytelling. This has been long-term booked since I saw everybody I know practically in wrestling friend fandom at the Staples Center in 2005. I said it then. If it comes back, I'm there. Well, God damn it if I'm not a man of my word. Because I'm going. And these feuds all are long-term. I will say I had an honorable mention that was actually going to be my number one.
Wow.
But I took off because it really wasn't a feud between characters or between personalities. It was the feud that defined our fandom. WWF versus WCW. Now, overall, changed the game. Completely changed the game. But I didn't want it to be about the companies. Because the fuse between the characters, the wrestlers, is so much more in-depth involved for me. So that's why I took it off the list completely.
That's fair.
So again, you came into it in the heart of it, man. 98 was, both companies were doing such goddamn good business at that point. But I really felt like it was the characters, the wrestlers involved all throughout my list, not just in the 95 to 2001 era, but overall, just characters and storytelling is, it's what we do at my other job. It's what we do in wrestling. So there you go.
That's right.
All about the stories.
Stories.
We tell stories. We do. Yeah. So number 10 for me was really the first real raw guttural feud I happened upon in my fandom. The time I started watching wrestling, God, over 32 years ago now. Lord Almighty, I'll come up on 33 in October. Jesus Christ. The Ultimate Warrior was the WWF champion.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't Hogan. So yes, I fell in love with wrestling because of that red and yellow all over my television every week. But the Warrior was champion. Love him or hate him, whatever. The Macho King Randy Savage was a perpetual thorn in the Warrior's side, as was the sensational Queen Sherry. God bless you, Sherry. All three of you, actually, now I thought about that. That happened right now in my head. Damn. But that feud, you talk about Warrior Savage, by the way, in case you figure that out. You talk about the Royal Rumble and Sergeant Slaughter, who returned to the company and had betrayed the country and had turned his back and sided in with the sympathies of Iraq, and Macho King costing not only Warrior the championship, but leading to this vile turncoat becoming the WWF champion. And Randy being so afraid for his damn life that he purposely missed the Royal Rumble match later that night to avoid the Warrior don't kill him. You can't have any other way to go out, but one of them has to go for good. And they have a retirement match they called the career match back then at WrestleMania 7. First WrestleMania I ever watched. So other than Hogan Slaughter, which I didn't get to see the finish of that match that night because our cable company sucked a dick at Palmdale. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. So Fred Rogan, who just retired earlier this year, was one to tell me that Hogan became champion. The feud was 2 for me. And I won't give this feud a mention on the list because the payoff match was such hot garbage. Roberts and Martel, the blindfold match. As a kid, it's like, oh, you look back, you go, God damn it. 7-year-old me was a dumb fuck.
Easily amused.
Yes. God almighty. But the Warrior Savage match and the feud was real. They had both cost each other the championship. Warrior's trunks even had a picture of the beloved winged eagle and said, means much more than this. And it did. These guys were putting their careers on the line in this match. And Savage loses. And then Elizabeth comes out to save him from Sherry, and they reunite. And I cry now, 30-something years later, thinking about it. And then Savage gets reinstated later in the year. Warriors notoriously fired the same night Randy and Elizabeth get married. Good job, Jim. Warrior comes back after Mania the following year. Hogan's gone. Savage is champion after WrestleMania when Hogan's gone. So they put them back into a rivalry, but it's friendly. It's more about the championship than about the personal animosity. Liz is gone by this point. She and Randy legitimately fell apart at this point. Flair and Perfect are involved in the SummerSlam lead up. And it's a cool little moment. And they even become a tag team at the end of 92 before Jim once again gets himself fired because Jim can't help himself from being
Jim doing Jim things.
Jim doing Jim things before he actually legally became Warrior. And again,
Warrior.
And again, if he turned his life around and became a better person, cool. Never saw it, so don't care. And if it makes me a dick, it makes me a dick. But that first feud that I really latched onto as a kid is why it's on my list. Because it's so long ago, but it still sticks so hard now. Number 9 is one that I know at least you and I are fond of. I know at least you and I both adore both men now. Me, I didn't want them for a long time, much to my admittance and acknowledgement of how much of a dick I was. But it led to one of the most unnecessarily brutal moments in WWF history. The Rock versus Mankind. You figure this was a placeholder at the end of the day. Get the belt to Rock, get Rock to Mania, get Austin there with him. That's the story. But Mick Foley, much like he did with Sting in 1992, goes, I can always get myself over too while we're at it. Instead of just making Sting, let's make Rock. And how he made Rock was people already starting to cheer for Rock. He turned babyface in 98, even though he had been a vile son of a bitch in the nation and, it damn near did bad things with China in the middle of the ring, and turned everybody on him. They still cheered for him. And they couldn't have that going against Austin at WrestleMania. Austin had to be the babyface, period, end of sentence, especially going against Mr. McMahon and the team. So how do you get the people to boo Rock? You turn him into a vile, disgusting person again. And damned if he wasn't a hated son of a bitch. Yes, he went into St. Valentine's Day Massacre, sang SmackDown Hotel, Memphis is ha-ha along with him. But it was the brutality level being turned up exponentially that while we still enjoyed the shtick, it's like, yeah, you're entertaining, but you're an asshole. And that was Mick Foley and The Rock coming together to make Dwayne bring that out of himself. Because everybody we ever talked to, Dewey's a hell of a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Always has been. To a fault in 96, 97. Which is what cost him, the Die Rocky Die stuff for a while. But man, what he did at the Rumble in Anaheim, what they did to each other at the Massacre in Memphis with the double chair shot for the last man standing match to end, the ladder match, and the empty arena match on halftime heat. My God, Mick Foley got his ass kicked around the entire arena, inside and out of the arena area. They beat the shit out of each other for 5 months, and it made Rock was already there, but it put Rock here. Mm-hmm. So that way, when he was at Austin the first time, he was ready. But at the same time, Mick Foley, who had always been that guy that almost got there, but never really beat Vader, never really beat Sting, never really was gonna be the world champion, got it. And he got it twice against The Rock alone. So it made the definition of a great long-term storytelling feud is both guys get over and neither one is sacrificed for the other. Mm-hmm. Savage Warrior did it in spite of Warrior being Warrior. And had he not been a dumbass and gotten fired, it could have been even crazier. It would have been even better. But Rock and Mankind definitely did it. As did these next two, who we talked about off air. The only one on my list for sure. John Cena and Edge. Get my visual aids here. Batman and the Joker. Robin Hood and the Sheriff. We're talking Errol Flynn, not with all due respect to my Disney, I love that movie. The personification of the good, Superman and Lex Luthor.
I was just gonna say we always go back to Super Cena.
Yeah, Superman and Lex.
More than Batman and Joker, it is Superman and Lex.
Well, I will say Superman more because
Lex is the ultimate opportunity.
He is, always has been.
Joker is chaos.
That's fair. Although Edge is.
I'm not saying Edge can't be chaotic, but Edge is too intelligent.
That's fair. Joker's just nuts.
Yeah, Joker's batshit crazy.
Yes, but yeah,
there's a difference.
That's fair. That's a very good point. But I said Batman Joker because Edge and John have both said Batman Joker for themselves. But you're absolutely right. It's very much.
It's because Cena doesn't want to cop to the Superman fade.
I mean, that's fair. Sorry, John. But the ultimate goody, and again, John's character, not quite, freaking apple pie, waving, the big giant S, all that shit. But definitely,
if he had longer hair, he would have had the S curl.
That's true. And you think about post-it Superman, can you imagine him with the freaking Superman mullet? Can you imagine that shit? That'd have been frightening. You can't pull that off now, though. God damn his hair. He ain't messaging me back because of that shit, because he knows he's going to get crap for it. Because he's doing the Jeff Meacham hair club for men now, damn him. Anyway, I said what I said, John. Hope you watch him. But the ultimate good guy against just this straight up swarmy, disgusting, do anything and everything you have to do to get ahead bad guy. Mm-hmm. And again, we're going to differ on this because it was during his WWE Championship reign post JBL that we all started to sour on John, including me. I'll admit it. But looking back with an objective perspective, thank God for hindsight, as great as John Cena got in 2004, winning the title in 2005, and throughout that year, without Edge cashing in Money in the Bank and setting the tone for 3/4 of 2006 with him, and then connecting later on down the line too over the World Championship in a triple threat. They'd always come back to the two of them. But that 06 run for cashing in it after the Elimination Chamber match, to the Royal Rumble, to the summer where Rob's reign went up in smoke, to SummerSlam, to Unforgiven and the TLC match. John Cena's feud with Edge in 2006 defined John Cena, the WWE champion. It made John Cena the guy. Sure. Because you think about 06 on SmackDown. Batista, hurt. Angle, Mysterio, Booker, attacked Batista. Hit reset button. Throughout 06, if it wasn't John Cena, it was because it wasn't John Cena yet. And that was because Edge was such a strong character, they went back to him. It was because it was such a feel-good moment for Rob Van Dam that they had to pull that trigger. They had to with Rob. Yeah. But John was always in case of shit, break glass. And it was because his rivalry with Edge that he became that. To the point where when he beat Edge at Unforgiven, he didn't lose it until he had to abdicate because of injury over a year later. If Edge and him don't have that conflict, he doesn't get that year plus reign. Period. He doesn't. Okay. And I think even John will tell you that now. He and Adam were magic. Mm-hmm. And again, long-term story, that whole year made both of them. Because Edge came out of that the next year, recashed Money in the Bank, authorized to Undertaker for a year. He proved he could carry a long-term feud with the guy for a year. Mm-hmm. Cena to Undertaker. Gee, what a tough transition that was. Let's just give Adam. Let's not give. He fucking earned that shit, and I respect the hell out of Edge for that. Number 7 is one that I had an honorable mention before I took off the company feud. So I put this one back into the thing. I had to re-rank really quick. But man, you talk about long-term story. You talk about real emotion. You talk about something that just, even in the little bingo hall it took place in, the majority of the time it took place, there was nothing more emotional as a wrestling fan in the 1990s than watching Tommy Dreamer struggle to defeat frickin' Raven. There just wasn't. He didn't beat the guy for over 2 years. Every time he came close, there was a Blue Meanie or a Stevie or a Brian Lee or a Beulah or his own damn mentor or somebody that stood in Tommy's way. And then outside of storyline, Raven's leaving. And he had that match at WrestlePalooza, and he finally beats Raven. And then Jerry Lawler and Jim Cornette attack him with Sabu and RVD. So he doesn't get his victory in the feud because now he's dealing with this bullshit from these damn invaders. And then Tommy, God bless Tommy Dreamer, the W's are leaving too. They ripped the titles away. I think it was from Spike and Balls Mahoney, if I remember right.
Correct.
And Tommy's going there just to defend the company. And who saves him and helps him win the tag titles? Fucking Raven. And you see when he turns around, he sees he doesn't not say anything, but you see his face is just like, no, not you. No. And Franny Francine's in the background going, oh shit. Like, because she was with Tommy at this point, she's going, oh boy, we got problems. Because we had finally gotten rid of Raven. Tommy's like, for 2 years, he was Raven free. He was clear of the bullshit, and then he's back. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Tommy Dreamer and Raven, for fuck's sake, Jay. But man, these two, and there were so many people in ECW that threaded off Dreamer versus Raven. You figure Sandman, you figure Beulah, Stevie, Meanie, Nova. The Dudleys were part of Raven's Nest. Cactus turned on Tommy for Raven. Brian Lee. Almost everybody that was in that main event picture of ECW from 95-97 was threaded off. They're involved with one or the other. That's the biggest feud in the company, and it's 2 years. In independent or non-WCW storytelling, 2 years is a long goddamn time. And they did it. I only didn't pick Dreamer versus Sandman versus Raven because it didn't go as long, unfortunately. Because that one, she's honorable mention for sure. Because you take a man's wife and kid away and bring them into your own little cult and turn them against their father and husband. That's real life shit right there. That's some Jerry Springer shit right there. But God bless, Scott Levy and Jim, the hell's Sandman's last name? Fullington. Thank you. Jesus. Again, Paulie booking, Raven creating. Can't beat that with a stick. All right. Number 6 is one of those that professionally, chef's kiss. Always had magic when these two touched. It unfortunately bled into real life, and people can't be grown folk. And, people walk into arenas in Connecticut and have hair pulling fights, and people walk into Montreal and get screwed out of jobs, and it just is what it is with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Such good stuff at the beginning. The Rockers and the Hart Foundation. Rope breaking, contract negotiations notwithstanding. God damn it, Jim Neidhart. I love you, and I love your daughter even more. But damn you, Jim, you ruined a perfectly good thing for the Rockers. You bastard. So there was that. And then out of what could have been very risky splits from both of them, you figure Bret and Jim splitting up. Granted, their feud didn't happen for another year plus after Bret and Jim split. But split up the Hart Foundation was risky for both. And Bret came out of it, was Intercontinental Champion by the summer of that year. The Rockers splitting up, which, again, I'm sure you'll talk about this because this is more your thing than mine. But I love Sean recreating the barbershop moment when Talk Josh broke up. I see the hat. That shit was so good. And you sit back, you think about it, and if you've been a fan as long as we have, you go, yeah, Sean's booking this show. Anyway, that barbershop moment, again, risky as hell. Because we also, when you look back at being a fan back then, I know you weren't a fan, a hardcore fan back then, but I had been watching. Sean was definitely the star. He definitely had it more than Marty did. With all respect to Marty, Marty's Facebook notwithstanding right now.
Damn coward jumping through the barbershop window.
You chicken shit heel, you. Damn you. Ruining a perfectly good barbershop window. And what's so fucked up about that is they fixed the barbershop back up again, and then Sid Vicious comes along. Nope, not so much. Destroys the whole damn set. Bruce is like, what's the guy got to do? Get some fucking maintenance around here. Except the fact that you're Brutus fucking about beefcake, and that's why you suck, Brutus. So no more talk for you. You go away for 40 years, or however long, a year, whatever it was. Should have been longer. Again, it's a risk to split up two very popular tag teams. And to their credit, both of them on different trajectories as far as heel versus babyface shined like stars in the sky. And then you go into Survivor Series 92. Hang on. We'll get to 97. I promise we'll get to 97.
You can't talk about the story without talking about that.
No. But 92, Brett becomes WWF champion at a house show because Flair has a match with the Warrior. He gets dinged up. He has equilibrium issues. He gets getting vertigo. He has to drop the title. So Brett becomes champion. So now the Brett versus Shawn match, the Survivor Series, is up for the WWF championship. And then Davey White gets himself in a little trouble the same way the Warrior got in trouble. And he drops the Intercontinental title on the last Saturday Night's Main Event of the original run. Yes, it was on Fox, but whatever. So now you have champion versus champion Survivor Series for the Big Wing Eagle belt, the WWE Championship. And it was a great little main event to close the show. Santa Claus comes out and celebrates with Brett because there's nothing more Canadian or Survivor Series than Santa fucking Claus.
Back then, I can get that because Survivor Series was the Thanksgiving tradition. And Santa Claus always makes his debut at the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade.
That's fair.
To kick off the season. There was no December pay-per-view. There was no Monday Night Raw every week.
That's true.
So that made perfect sense. If you were going to do Santa in WWF, it had to be Survivor Series.
Well, yeah.
Can't do it at the Rumble.
And plus, there wasn't a risk of Stone Cold Steve Austin come out and sign his damn ass. So, yeah, there was that. That would come later. 97, ironically enough. But just a great little. Both these guys are coming into their singledom, and they had a hell of a match. And then they keep building both guys over almost 4 years. Mm-hmm. Sean has his big comeback after the injury in Syracuse, which I very much want to believe that bullshit. Brett regains championship after Diesel being champion for a year. Nash, listen to me. And then you build, and you have an hour-long match damn near our backyard at the old Arrowhead Pond, which is now, of course, the Honda Center. The Honda Center, if you will. The home of that other hockey team in SoCal that I don't talk about because fuck the Ducks. I said what I said.
Host to the Junior Goodwill games.
This is fair. That's right.
Team USA Ducks.
All the way. Team USA Ducks I can get with. Mighty Ducks, not Anaheim. The Mighty Ducks in Minnesota, I'm all for it. Even with the lady from Gossip Girl coaching. But it's okay. We'll move right on. Damn it. They have this hour-long plus epic showdown that really leads into the long-term story of these two because Brett takes his hiatus. Brett damn near signs with WCW and joins the NWO in that time. And Sean is carrying the company on his forced babyface back with his mentor by his side the entire way going, this is not Shawn Michaels. This is white meat baby face, watered down Shawn Michaels. This is bullshit. And it takes him going in the garden and getting booed out of the damn building when a psychopath is powerbombing him and hitting his mentor with a camera to bring Shawn back out. And then Shawn gets the knee injury. And Brett doesn't win the Rumble. And we've got this dynamic, but we don't get a payoff.
Because Shawn loses his smile.
Shawn loses his smile. Brett loses his damn mind.
So we've got Marty Jannetty jumping through the barbershop window and Sean losing his smile.
Rockers are a couple bitches. But anyway, then you get both of them are healthy, back in the company. They go into Hartford and they have a little bitch fight backstage. That's real shit. Shawn loses a chunk of hair. If Shawn was under contract, Shawn's on the NWO next week. That's just how that was in June 97. And yes, Montreal happened. It was what it was. It still will forever be talked about. But the in-ring stuff, and I'll even thread in the behind-the-scenes stuff because it was part of it with these two. It really was.
Sunny days, sweeping the clouds away.
On our way to some serious shit. Can you tell us how to get each other hit? Dun, 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 dun. And I'm sorry, Jim, for that. That was bullshit. Fucked up that one. Hey, old Kermit the Frog here saying Jeff fucked up, huh? We got a problem here? Anyway, sorry, wrong voice. Anyway,
you kind of blended the two there.
I didn't mean to, but I've watched too much South Park with your daughter. This is what it is.
That's fair.
I saw the entire episode of that, by the way, all the way through with Jonas Brothers. Oh my God, was that horrible on my psyche? Wow.
Arguably one of the greatest things South Park ever did.
No doubt about it. But having watched the whole episode the whole way through, you go, wow. I mean, they're not wrong, but damn.
And then you go back, rewatch, and listen to that "Ring on My Finger" song that the Jonas Brothers did, and then listen to their song "Sucker."
Oh yeah,
and tell me that's not straight up fucking Jack in South Park.
Straight up Jack in South Park. Absolutely. What gets it for me is the little laugh Mickey does after each sentence. It just wrecks my shit.
We don't have a problem here. Oh.
No, talk to me like a boss. Like, stop laughing. I can't do it, Mickey. I can't front that. I work with you every day. I can't face you at work now. Oh my God. Anyway, the hell was I? Oh yeah, Michaels and Brett, even more demonic than Mickey on South Park, which is something. It just got so real that it made the rivalry on camera even that much more dynamic to watch.
Because you didn't know what was real and what was fake.
Yeah.
The lines were so blurred with that feud.
97 really became the year that became a thing. The blurred lines. And I'm going to talk about Robin Thicke and his asshole self. You just never knew what you were going to get from either company at that point. And it was made. That's why the television ratings were what they were back then. And Michaels and Brett were very much part of that. So good on them, man. All right, number 5 is near and dear to both of us. So we're just going to go through real quick. Hulk Hogan, it's Roddy Piper. Now, it's only middle of the road because it was before truly both of our fandoms really started, for being honest, with me anyway. I did have a Hulk Hogan figure in this era that I think my mom bought for me, which is really ironic looking back now. But I didn't know anything about it until 1990. By the time I started watching 1990, Hogan wasn't champion. I think Roddy was in a feud with Rick Rude or some stupid shit at that point. And actually, no, Rude had already left the company. I don't know how Roddy was even doing on TV besides hosting the first episode of Superstar that I ever watched with Vince. But man, we talk about a lot of the time, and again, we still don't know at this point of this taping who's going to the Hall of Fame this year. But you talk about reasons why WrestleMania worked. The very first one. Cyndi Lauper, again, should be in the Hall of Fame. She was a major part of that. But without Cyndi Lauper appearing with Captain Lou, and Captain Lou appearing in her video, without the two of them interacting with Roddy on Piper's Pit, without Roddy having Hogan come to Cindy's defense against Roddy, without the world ended all and the world settled the score, which was between Hogan and Roddy, at least the world settled the score, there's no WrestleMania. We're not sitting here in 2023, talking about WWE. We're not.
Almost 39 years later.
Almost 39 years later. You figure March 31st will be 39 years. We're not talking about, or 38 years because it's 2023 technically. But anyway, we're not talking about it at this point. Yes, Cyndi Lauper was the pop culture reference for the rest of the world that hasn't watched wrestling yet. Yes, Hulk Hogan was the face of the company. Yes, Roddy was his chief antagonist after he settled the score for the Iron Sheik and to get the company's title back into the hands of the Real American, brother. But without the feud between Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper, and then Mr. T getting involved, and Orndorff getting involved, and Orton getting involved, and everybody else getting involved, without those two elements, there is no post March 31st, 1985 WWF. Maybe a regional territory like his old man had. Maybe. And without that mainstream visibility for the WWF that was established on MTV because of that feud and Cyndi Lauper's involvement, Crockett doesn't get motivated to up his company's perception to the mainstream media and doesn't have to sell to Ted Turner, who then hired it. Again, one thread, one moment in time, putting Hogan and Piper at odds after signing Hogan away from the AWA, after signing Piper away from the Crockett territory. Those two megastars from completely different regions of the country, for Vince to want to go national, ultimately global. Again, people rag on the old man all they want, but that's some Disney storytelling shit right there. You take the two biggest stars, figure Piper was a solid right under Flair star in Crockett, as far as an antagonist or a babyface for that matter. You sign them two away, and then here, let's put them head to head against each other. Just there is no Jeff Meacham network multiverse of media without Hogan versus Piper. That's the tweet.
Yep.
Number 4, as much as Hogan versus Piper, was the feud that established the WWF in the mid-'80s. Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair was not the first Starrcade, but it defined Starrcade. True. 84, 85. And you talk about polar, and again, I debated between Dusty and Ricky Steamboat for Flair. I really did, because they're both such good feuds. But I couldn't deny my love for Dusty more than Ricky. I love Ricky, honorable mention, but the common man fighting from beneath, the son of a plumber versus the son of a well-off doctor and his wife, recovering from a plane crash, going on to be the man in wrestling, the world's heavyweight champion, styling and profiling, all that shit he does and still does because he's crazy and he's Nachin and he can't help his damn self but Nachin.
Nate's gonna Nate.
Nate's going Nate and Dream gonna Dream. If Dream was still here, Miss Dusty. But man,
see, I think your comment here a minute ago is the perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, because Dusty Rick was the long-term storytelling.
yes.
Flair Steamboat was a rivalry.
Yes. It was rivalry, not a long-term feud. And to be fair, they went back and visited it because it was a feud in the Crockett era prior to Ricky going to WWE the first time. And it was revisited in 94 prior to the Red and Yellow Invasion, brother, which actually turned Flair heel to go against Hogan after that, what it was with Steamboat 94, which really wasn't a Flair heel turn, but kind of. But man, Flair versus Dusty was a beloved, venerated babyface versus a piece of chicken shit heel. So much so that Flair was technically riding the line between the two when he went into the cage with Nikita in the Omni in Atlanta. Dude, again, part of that trip, we're in at the Cow Palace. The first leg of that trip was in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to walk through the old Omni. You talk about the Goosies, man. Holy shit. Granted, the Omni's not there itself anymore, but the place where it sat is actually now the Phillips Arena, where they've had many WWF moments over the years, including the start of the "You Suck" chants. I'm sorry, Kurt. Lord, I apologize for that shit. And on behalf of everybody in Atlanta, you bastards. But walking through the area, knowing what had taken place, that cage, which was one of them old rocket cages that was flimsier than a goddamn teenage boner. My God. Can you imagine being in the middle of that? Sorry, brother. I apologize. Can you imagine being a part of that, knowing Dusty's in there saving his ass, and the Andersons just guzzle him anyway. And the people are rocking that cage, and there's not much between them and the ring but imagination at that point. That was real. That was Southern goddamn wrestling, man.
Yep.
And the people wanted Flair and the Andersons' heads on freaking spikes before they left that ring. They had to have police escort the three of them through a wave of people to get to the dressing room and get them the hell out of the city. Not the building, the goddamn city. That's a rivalry. That's a feud. That's real shit. And it went on from the moment Flair became champion at Starrcade 83 in Greensboro all the way through to when Flair regained the title from Dusty after the cage match at Great American Bash in 86. You figure they always went, off in different things, but they always came back to each other over that world championship. It didn't matter if one was a babyface, if one was, it always came back to, I hate you, you hate me, you have what I want what I had back. It was always about the title, but it became so personal. Mm-hmm. And it generated some of the greatest promos in history. Hard Times, of course, is the promo of promos. But man, Dusty and Rick, and I wasn't even a WCW fan until 1993 or 4. So watching this stuff back now, you get sucked into this shit. Watching it back on the network, watching it back on Peacock, watching the stuff that isn't available on either platform. It's like, God damn, this shit's great. Because they were great. Number 3, on the other hand, I was very much involved in.
Okay.
I picked a side. And I picked a side because when you're a teenager and you're 13, 14 years old, it's cool to be bad. It's cool to buck system, buck City Hall, whatever you want to call it. And Hulk Hogan shedding that red and yellow and going Hollywood before Hollywood Rock became a term and joining up with these WWF invaders and forming that group. And then our beloved Sting, who had been the franchise, the franchise player, if you will, Daddy, for WCW, feeling betrayed. That WCW fans had thought that he had joined up with these interlopers, these bad people. His own best friend thought he turned. His old enemies, who he had mutually agreed to partner with against these bad people, didn't think any more of him than he thought of them back in the day. And it turned his soul dark. Once upon a time dark, where you have this beautiful pink heart inside you and you get so twisted that your heart blackens and you become this figure of darkness and your whole persona and your outwardly appearance changes to where you become this damn near creature of the night. Brandon Lee wannabe. I'll give you that. I was going to try to build it all mythically and nice and not shit on him until the very end, but we'll go ahead and go to it anyway. But it transformed not only Sting, not only Hogan, but the industry. Now, you look at the payoff of Starrcade 97. But that 16, 17 month build, it's the stuff of legends, man. Because every time in any other point in history that it would be a thing, you pay it off right away. Bischoff said, nope, not yet. Nope, not yet. I'm going to wait. I'm going to make them literally blow their wad, both their wallet and other places, on Starrcade. And they did. We did. All of us. We paid for that pay-per-view. We were fucking pissed at Eric for it. Because, damn it, that finish was hot garbage. But you believed. And without the NWO, I'll say it till I'm dead in the ground or in the urn, probably, very likely, hopefully provided by Percy and his family. Yes. Without the NWO and Sting as the quote-unquote final boss, if you will, there is no Monday Night War, and the business is not where it became, and I dare say where it is now. the NWO changed the industry, and their battles with Sting were really what kept WCW afloat as long as it did. Because let's not kid ourselves. Everybody that was in the company has said it, especially Bischoff. Nobody in a suit and tie with a Turner name badge on their shirt ever gave a fuck about that company except for Ted Turner. Nobody else cared if it succeeded. Nobody else cared if it did anything beyond get Ted's jollies off each and every Saturday night. Didn't give a shit. But without Eric getting the reins, without signing Hogan, without the NWO factor being what it was, without Sting becoming the Crow character, you said the randomly wannabe, I think even Ted would have went, I'm good. But the money printed its goddamn self. You can go on WWEshop.com right now and buy 20 different kinds of NWO shirts. It's 2023, JJ. That shouldn't be a thing. It just shouldn't. You can go on AEW's website right now and buy a Crow-centric Sting merchandise. That shouldn't be a thing in 2023.
You can go to the Spring store and buy a Dad's Not Always on Wrestling shirt in the NWO font.
Right here. Right there. That shouldn't be a thing. But it is. Because of this rivalry. Sting versus the NWO. Specifically Hulk Hogan. On the other side of the corporate battle between WWE and WCW, you had the evil boss Eric Bischoff on WCW side, and yeah, it worked, and it was a cool thing, and Lord knows people hated Eric Bischoff, right, Paulie? And somewhere in the back of that evil mind of his, Vince McMahon went,
"Hold my beer.
I can do it better." Well, if it's Vince, hold my tequila. Let's be clear on that. Or Dom Perignon if he's out with Nate, because goddamn it, Nate, stop spending so much goddamn money on booze. Crazy old bastard, you. $3,500 bar tab in England. In England, they don't spend that much money on booze back there. Goddamn it! It's the reason it's better back there because it's less expensive, but it's way stronger. But I digress. Buy that shirt on our store too.
I did.
He did. True story.
Just not wearing it today.
We're doing our own shows. It's not my shirt; it's his shirt that he bought this one too. So we thank you for. Vince saw what worked, and more importantly, he saw a juggernaut on the horizon and a guy that WCW didn't see shit in black boots, black trunks, and ever increasingly thinning blonde hair. To the point where, shave it off and become stone cold. Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon. I mentioned Tommy and Raven earlier and how every damn buddy in ECW and their story was an offshoot of Tommy versus Raven. Another example where WWF went, hold our, fill in your whiskey, drink here, whatever, drink here. Everybody in that company, with the exception of Undertaker, and even their shit got involved in that story too for a little bit. Everybody in the company that was involved in a high-profile story was in some correlation or another to Austin versus McMahon.
Yep.
Every single one, 1998. Oh, DX versus the Nation. Shawn Michaels was out of DX because of the thing with Austin. And Shawn's refusal to conform. So DX, was feeding with the Nation. Everything. And
then Rocky turned corporate at the end of '98 and joined the corporation.
Against Austin. So there you go.
And then Triple H turned heel at Mania 15 and joined the corporation alongside Rocky.
And then Triple H.
So there's your DX Nation. Shut the fuck up.
And Triple H went to battle Austin with Shane McMahon's corporate backing. So, yeah. Every single thing in the company was touched or a spinoff from Austin versus McMahon. And really, that's how it should be. It's the world champion against the boss. There's no more high-profile stakes than the head of the company against his top star, who he does not want there. Can't stand the man. Doesn't want him involved. Doesn't want him as his champion. Sees him as trash, blah, blah, blah. Everybody who's ever been working for a living has wanted to walk up to their boss, kick him in the gut, drop him on their goddamn chin. Every single one of us, except
After giving him the double bird.
Except my boss right now, for the record.
Although that would make for a hell of a gif. You walking up to Mickey at his house in Toontown.
Oh, you know. Yeah.
Stunner.
That's a big old head to grab, though. I don't know if I can. I got pretty big arms, and I got a big head myself. I don't know if I can reach. I don't know if I can pull that off. And I know I'm not going to see if I can try because I value my employment. I don't have a problem here.
What you should do is next time you work, if you see somebody backstage in the costume, just ask them for a second if you can wrap your arm around it, like to even see if you can hook them for the stunner.
Right.
Just for shits and giggles.
And then if I can,
we'll
make it happen. We'll make it happen. That's right. But yeah, Austin versus McMahon, as much as the NWO versus Sting helped put WCW ahead of the WWF in every facet possible, Austin versus McMahon helped turn things around and saved the damn company.
Yeah.
However, that's still not number one for me.
What could possibly be your number one, sir?
Well, what was the criteria we said about when we started this?
Long-term.
Long-term storytelling. Is there any longer time in wrestling than almost 25 years? I dare say no.
Probably not.
Probably not. Is there any more raw, guttural, visceral battle, rivalry, feud than a brother against a brother? I don't think so. So when you match this venerated figure of, at this point, only 7 years into his time with the company against a brother he thought he'd lost forever in an accident at the family home, and here we are, both of them are in the Hall of Fame now, and both of them have stated, and I find myself hard-pressed to agree, it wouldn't be number one on my list, The Undertaker versus Kane is the greatest feud, definitely in WWE history, the greatest story. The brothers feuding or together is the greatest single bit of WWE storytelling ever. I dare say wrestling storytelling ever. This, you go back and you listen to, I forget which one of the 50,000 documentaries about Undertaker during 2020, 2021, because goddamn, the cock was on that one. Bruce Pritchard said it was supposed to be just another monster they fed the Taker for a month or two. A little bit longer than a month or two. Hey there, brother love. The dentist / bogus Diesel got a career out of this.
And a Hall of Fame induction.
Headlining the class, no less. These two, and along with our beloved Buddy Percy and Mick Foley, and Vader, and Vince and Austin, and fill in every other damn body they came across.
Everyone else from the Ministry of Darkness.
Everyone from the Ministry, everybody for the corporate, everybody. As much as Austin and Vince touched every facet of the company, these two, in their battles or their partnership, interacted with everybody. I mean, 20 years is a long time to battle each other. You got to touch other people at some point, right? So, but their battles over championships, their battles over their personal demons, their battles over everything.
Their battles alongside each other as the brothers of destruction.
Be it against other people in the WWF, be it uniting to battle against the invasion of the Alliance with each other, partnering up with
Chronic.
With all due respect to the Bryans, God, love you, Brian Clark, but oofa. Poor Stevie. Talk about being saddled with a bunch of boo shit in 2001. Gets his stable broke up by the Brothers of Destruction. He gets a match Chronic.
For one match.
Can I quit again? Can I go back to ECW? Can I go back to W? Fuck! Yeah, poor Stevie. We love you though, Stevie.
Big Stevie Cool.
Big Stevie Cool, baby. Another freaking Diesel ripoff. Anyway.
But dare I say Stevie did it better than Kane?
not a high enough bar to have to come over, to be fair. Trying to be a better Diesel than Kane. Let's see. That bar's so low I can't even see it. Anyway.
And Blue Meanie was a more sober Scott Hall.
Again, low bar, Jay. Low bar. And Nova
Hollywood Nova, that was where it was, right?
Okay, I'll give you that one because Simon Dean didn't have to do shit, and it still came out like gangbusters. That was a weird tangent off the Undertaker feud. I'm not gonna lie, we went fucking left field on that one. That's okay. It's okay. We still an hour in. We're good.
We do that here on the Dads.
We do on the Dads every other Monday.
If you
didn't know by now, what the hell you been watching every other Monday? If that's the case, but Undertaker Kane was it's one of those like it was supposed to be a monster thing for a couple months, like he had in the 90s with Gonzalez and Bundy and everybody, and it just connected because there's no more raw nerve to hit than a battle of a brother against a brother. It's why the Civil War is such a much more emotional piece of U.S. history than any other war we've been in our entire 200 and something year history of this country, because the Civil War literally was us against us. It was brother versus brother. It was father versus son. And man, you talk about a family broken apart by tragedy.
We talked 2 weeks ago when we did No Way Out,
right,
about the way Triple H sold Cactus.
Yeah.
And how that really helped make the appearance, the angle, the transition.
Right.
If Undertaker doesn't sell the fact that he doesn't want to fight his brother, this doesn't get out the front gates.
No.
That is what pushed the story and what made everyone connect to it so much. Is you've got this dark, demonic figure who, granted, babyface at the time, but still. The creatures of the night. And he's refusing to fight his sibling
because he can't. He promised his parents he would. He couldn't. He promised the souls of his dead parents he would never.
And that's what sucks us in, because there's gonna come that point where he's gonna snap.
Yep.
Very much like how in the current landscape, Ray moved to SmackDown because he wanted nothing to do with Dom.
Yep.
After the heel turn, he could not be on the same show because he knew he'd have to fight him.
Yep.
We know we're going to get to that at Mania.
Oh yeah.
How we get there is the fun and the journey.
Yep.
That's what sucks us into the story.
Exactly. Same Roman and Sam.
It's the same thing here. If Taker doesn't resist so much, and at Survivor Series, which was right after Bad Blood, he fights Kane. Done.
That's it. It's over. Yep, that's it.
But because he put up that act, that front, the resistance, that's why Kane was able to have his 25-year career.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. You saw Undertaker's selling of the story. That first moment, he's going to tombstone Shawn. He's going to win the first Hell in a Cell match. He's going to get the title shot at Survivor Series. How would that have played out, right? Shawn and Undertaker and Brett instead. What could have been? But then Kane walks in, and Taker's not being Undertaker when he sees Kane coming down the aisle. He's Mark thinking, oh, shit, that's Glenn. And he's looking at his face like, how? How are you here? How are you here with this son of a bitch who betrayed me and said how, why? And then rather than say a word, Kane does the pyro and lays him out and walks out not having said a goddamn thing. And Paul Bearer's just, all his chins are just shaking like jelly, man. That's right. I told you. I've been telling you for half a year, motherfucker. You didn't believe me. You believe now, don't you? With all due respect to Percy, that was just right there. But, and then he still refuses. And he keeps refusing. And he keeps refusing. It takes him literally being locked in his own damn casket by his brother and being set ablaze with intent to murder that he goes, all right,
Gloves are off.
I done told you I wouldn't, but and then the moment where he goes to the gravesite with his parents and says, I don't have a choice here. He tried to do what he did. I cannot let that pass. It's like, Jesus.
Right?
It's like neither one of us lost our parents yet. Thank God. But imagine having that, and again, you don't have a blood relation brother, but imagine having to do that, having to go to your parents' gravesites and go, I know I said what I said, but he has gone too far. Paul has done that. He's just done this. He has pushed Glenn too far. I cannot let this go unanswered. And it just kept going. And they would get back together and they break it. And it's like any other family. You break up, you make up. It's it's just the greatest story the company ever told. Period. End of sentence.
Yep.
And on that front, before I throw to you,
yes,
we talk about stories being told. We saw during the pre-show trailers what we're going to have the rest of the lead up to and after WrestleMania. But this one here, this year right here, is just WrestleMania week alone. What we're going to throw at you on the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse of Media.
Are we going to even be able to still function after WrestleMania week? That's the $1 million question, Meacham.
You forget, as of now, I'm planning to be at most of this shit live.
As much as you can.
Jar Jar Binks moment in my head, we're going to die.
Right?
Seriously, I see it at Tombstone a couple weeks ago, just haha, here lies Jeff Meacham. 'Twas the wrestling that killed him.
And if it's not the wrestling that kills Meacham, as we joked about 2 weeks ago, it'll be the wrestling that kills Noah Foster.
For real, dude, just that week. 7 shows in 5 days. 2 of them, well, one of them, a definite doubleheader. At least with Hall of Fame night, he can just kind of like comment along. He doesn't have to call action.
That's true.
We can all sit there and react, which is nice. That's definitely good. But with any like, I'll be the Undertaker show, so I won't get to hear the golden stuff out of that. But
that's true. You're going to have to rewatch it back before Stand and Deliver.
Oh, darn. Give you more watch hours. Poo. Poo do. But yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, before Stand and Deliver, where the Undertaker show starts at 11 p.m. Stand and Deliver starts at 11 a.m. the next day. No sleep for Meacham. Because sleeping on weekends doesn't happen for me anyway. But
that's true.
But many weekend especially. Anyway, so now, again, I don't often brag about my own list because I worry about either having to follow you or you having to follow me and being even better. But I thought it was pretty goddamn good if I do say so myself.
You know, I mean, I will say this.
Okay.
We share 4.
Oh, wow. Okay.
None are in the same spot.
Oh, that's good.
But we share 4.
So that's 16 different views.
Much like the last show we did.
16 seems to be the number. There you go. So, what's wrong about that is it was the 16th WrestleMania was my first one, and the first Raw after Mania you went to was the night after that one. So, right. 16 is the number for the dad's turn.
That's right. It's like the number 23.
That's right. That's
For us, it's the number 16.
But 42 is always the answer. And if you know, then you clearly watch as much shit as we do, and God bless your craziness. So, speaking of crazy, here we go.
Speaking of crazy is a good way to start for my first one. Number 10 isn't just a man versus man. It's 3 teams.
Ooh.
6 individuals.
Okay.
The Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys.
I'll mention for me for sure.
I mean, being the fan that I was, especially back in those early days,
Yes.
You can even put this kind of on the rivalry level because they definitely had that game of one-upsmanship amongst the 3 teams.
Definitely.
But it was such a long-term story. You go all the way back to the Terry Invitational.
Yes.
Where things really started between the Hardys and Edge and Christian.
Yep.
Then by January the following year, the Dudleys are in the company.
Yes.
And they're champions, and they're being thrown into the thing with the Hardys.
Yep.
Then you go to Mania that year, and you've got the Triangle Ladder match. Then you go to SummerSlam, and you've got the initial TLC outing. Then you think of everything that spawned off of this. You've got the Edge versus Christian rivalry. You've got the Matt and Jeff feud for as abysmal as those were. You've got the Devon versus Bubba feud when Reverend Devon becomes a thing and they get split up. You've got Edge versus Matt. You've got Edge versus Jeff. You've got all these. Then you get to the bullshit TLCs where it's like, Bubba and Spike, Christian and Jericho. And like, you're still getting these fragments.
Yes.
Jeff and RVD.
Yeah.
You're still getting the fragments of the feud.
Yes.
Because you know that it's gold whenever they get there together.
Yep.
Regardless of what the makeup of it is.
Yeah.
That's why it was so hard for me to just go ENC versus the Hardys. Or Hardys and the Dudleys.
Any 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got to get all 3 because they all took each other to the next level.
Yep. I was
honestly, I think if the Dudleys hadn't gotten thrown into that rivalry, they would have been dead in the water in WWF.
Well, yeah, I agree with that because they were made champions as a result of that rivalry, and they passed the Bradshaw and Farouk test that the Public Enemy didn't pass, but without being champions and having those 2 teams play off of, you're absolutely right. They're definitely not long-term staying power. Maybe you figure a year after that, the Alliance thing, and they joined the Alliance side of things, they may have survived that. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But before that, going into it, maybe not. Also keep in mind this, and I was very fortunate to be part of 2 of those matches. The original Triangle Ladder match at WrestleMania, which, again, that WrestleMania was what it was, but the 2 triple threat matches on that night were freaking bonkers good. Yeah, that match, then you had the Angle Benoit Jericho 2 out of 2 fall match, which was so good. And then I was part of the Forgotten TLC on SmackDown with Benoit Jericho also in the mix. You talk about a lucky muckerfucking fan, man. Part of both of those matches live in person.
Yeah.
It's, and again, you and I looking back in the over 40 club now, looking back going, that could have been good on their backs and their necks, and it's every bump you see, it's like, ooh, ow, because you feel you feel the twinges at this point of our lives. But man, as a fan, as a young, teens, early 20s, you go, God damn, this is good shit.
Because at that point, they were so young and hungry.
Yep.
And they had to prove that they belonged on a card.
Yeah.
With Austin and Rock and Hunter
yep.
and Taker
and Kane, yeah.
And to even get thrown into rivalries with those guys.
You figure 2001, when we're talking about the Forgotten TLC, the Forgotten TLC happens because coming off Judgment Day, Austin's banged up. He and Taker and Triple H and Kane had their rivalry. Triple H is out for 8 months. Taker and Kane are going to kind of be there for a minute until the invasion really kicks into high gear. They got to do something with Benoit and Jericho to keep them in the main event freshness, having just won the tag titles. Make them do a TLC. See how they do with those 3 teams. And God damn, they didn't. And then the Hardys feuding with the 2-man power trip. Mm-hmm. Edge and Christian
Jeff dethroning Hunter for the IC title.
Yeah, on a random SmackDown. Like
losing it a week later, but still.
Jericho, same thing. It was all part of making us believe these tag team exclusive folk belonged in the main event discussion. I'll tell you what, if I ever get to meet Lita again in person, I'm going to hug her. I'm going to hug her a little gingerly, though, because of the back injuries from that chair shots from Austin that 1 year, because, goddamn, he wore her out with that chair. She took that shit like a champ.
Yeah.
And, again, it's all about taking your lumps, taking your, paying your dues. And all 6 of these guys, and Lita, and Spike, and Rhino, all paid those dues in that rivalry. Because they all took
Stacy
and
the Duchess of Dunedin.
God bless Stacy, man. All 10 of those people, at least in the initial stages of their WWF, WWE careers, really just blossomed in this rivalry, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Lita.
I did.
Perfect segue to my number 9. Lita and Trish.
Definite honorable mention. And
I was surprised you didn't have that, as much as you love you some Trish Stratus.
So,
and you gushed so eloquently over her and Stephanie 2 weeks ago on the
did.
No Way Out show.
I did.
I really thought you would have Lita and Trish
What's
in your list.
I think the reason that I didn't is because it was so long ago that, and I don't get often the chance to just binge on stuff like I used to when the network first debuted in 2004 or 14 rather, that the Trish Lita thing almost gets forgotten for me because I've seen them both come back so much now, and having met both of them, that I almost wrongly, for the record, take it for granted how great their feud was. Because, man,
see, and I don't, because from day one, I was a Lita fan.
You were, without a doubt.
I was a Lita fan when she was still freaking Miss Congeniality alongside Dastardly Danny Doyne and Roadkill in ECW.
God bless Danny and Roadkill, man. I miss those two.
I became a Trish fan upon her debut in the WWF.
Yes.
Alongside Tess and Albert, TNA. Gee, wonder what they were trying to say back then. And then here comes Lita alongside S.A. Rios.
Yeah.
And they both are debuting around the same time in the company.
Roughly, yeah.
As managers.
Both on Heat at that. Think about that.
Then we get the transition of Lita to the Hardys. And it's off to the races.
Yep.
It's TNA and Trish against Lita and the Hardys.
Yep.
And it just builds from there.
Yep.
Their rivalry turns into a full-blown feud.
Yep.
And it's so good because the DVD title is just perfect.
Yep.
Best friends but better rivals.
Yeah. And you think about it, they took a long break between their 2000 initial toes in the water until Trish turned heel. They really didn't revisit them proper as a rivalry until damn near 5 years later, because Trish was so busy being an awesome babyface champion. Granted, Lita got hurt.
I was going to say,
yeah,
Trish needed to get better.
Right.
Because the Trish Stratus that debuted couldn't hold a candle to Lita.
No.
And then
not.
Lita got injured on the set of the TV show. What was it? Dark Angel, I think it was.
Yep, that's it.
So there you had that derailing her.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you've got them in like bra and panty matches and evening gown matches against Tori and Stacy, which, don't get me wrong, any reason to look at the goods, I'm not opposed to.
And to be fair, Lita saved Trish's life that night too.
But it's like that they're so much better than that.
Oh, they're 100% is.
Their legacies need to be remembered for more than that.
And you know what? Once
Trish went heel, their legacies took that next step.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Lita was the consummate babyface.
Yep.
Until news broke of her infidelity.
But even then, their feud ended with them on the other side of the spectrum. Because Trish was the babyface champion again, or the babyface, and Lita was the heel.
Mhm.
Lita was the slut. Lita was, and it was
to the point where Crime Time's having a wholesale for her.
But yeah,
I love Crime Time, but that was one night I had to shake my head like, really, guys?
it's like, damn, Shad, really? But you know what? Trish and Lita worked as a rivalry, as a feud with either of them on either side.
Yep.
And that's what makes
a
it
good feud.
Yep. When both people can work, and again, I don't know how high up it is on your list. I didn't mention this in my dissertation earlier. Hogan and Piper worked with both of them being on both sides. Hogan and Piper in the 80s was God. Piper couldn't walk in New York City without getting spit on or stabbed or whatever, where Hogan, would walk like Rocky Balboa in Philadelphia. You flash forward 10, 11 years, Hogan was a vile son of a bitch, and Piper's family was getting attacked by Hollywood Hogan. Again, it works on both sides. Undertaker Kane worked on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
No. I'm just saying. I forgot to mention on my list. I was like, they work. The great feuds are like that, for the most part.
Number 8 on my list is the first one that we share, the first of 4.
Right.
Comes from the bingo halls.
Oh, yes.
Raven and Tommy.
See, this one wouldn't have worked if it was Raven as a good guy. That's just weird shit. That's weird shit.
Tommy Dreamer is one of those guys that just doesn't work as a heel.
No, it makes no sense. Zero.
He's not believable.
No.
He is too much the underdog good guy.
Yeah. Yep.
He's the Red Sox, Ravens the Yankees.
Yeah, that's very wait a minute. Yeah,
I mean maybe not in modern day terminology because the Red Sox have got a few over on the
shit around
lately, but going back to them olden days.
Oh yeah,
after the curse of the Bambino, if you will. Yep. Tommy is the Red Sox and Ravens the Yankees,
and Tommy
just can't get over that hump. And I'm not going to sit here and go too deep into it because much like the other ones that we share, you spoke on them so eloquently, there ain't shit else for me to say on it.
That's
the one reason why I hate following you on wrestling shows, because you're so long-winded and you say the shit that I'm thinking, and it's like, moving on.
I still say we should at least share lists sometimes because then I can, rein it in a little bit. But goddamn it, rivalries are the heart and soul of what we do in wrestling. So it's like it's hard not to wax so much damn proxy on these things, especially something like Tommy and Raven. Because my God, poor Tommy.
It was like you said, it was some of the best ECW storytelling.
Yeah.
The only other ECW storytelling, you mentioned Raven and Sandman, so I won't touch on that.
Right.
The only other ECW storytelling that I think really came close to that level was Taz and Sabu.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
Because that was essentially the NWO Sting gimmick.
Yep. Yeah.
It just paid off sooner.
It did, and to be fair, Taz actually did pay off.
Yeah. It's accurate too.
For NWO just kept going. As much as I throw it up for life, brother. Yeah. God,
there's times when long-term storytelling doesn't pay off, and you've gotta know when to pull that trigger to optimize maximum potential.
Yeah.
And while Starrcade, their WrestleMania, if you will, essentially was a great target. They missed the boat by not pulling the trigger sooner.
I won't say not pulling it. They didn't miss the boat. They just missed the goddamn bullseye when they shot because the finish was so convoluted and such hot garbage. Tommy and Raven, again, I mentioned, great payoff, and Raven's gone. So they got to do something to get rid of him. But letting Tommy keep going by building, Lawler coming in and RVD and Sabu, Taz and Sabu, I think, should get more than honorable from either of us. And I say that because it built and it paid off at Barely Legal, and they could have gone further with it because of Fonzie turning. And Paul went, no, I got what I wanted out of it. I'm good. And it worked. It worked so well. So more than honorable mention, I just didn't, from my end, I just didn't have a chance to go there. But That's fair. Goddamn good feud.
Number 7, going to another company. And I'm honestly very surprised that this wasn't on your list.
Okay.
As it's 2 guys who, over the years, we became insane friends with.
Oh, boy, I'm in trouble.
And we're talking about the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels.
Oh, okay.
And the phenomenal AJ Styles.
I thought you were going in a different direction, but I'll bring it up later on honorable mentions. But yeah, you're right. My bad, guys.
I mean, their rivalry in TNA, their rivalry carrying over to PWG and the Sweatbox.
Oh, man.
I just wish that Daniels could have gotten a legit shot in WWE so we could have seen that on the main stage.
Yeah.
I almost threw Joe in this too and made it another triple threat angle, but I like Joe, but it was always more for me about AJ and Chris.
Yeah, it was.
Joe was there and he was a big player, and if I was going solely based off of indies, Daniels and Joe would be on my list.
Right.
Because that shit started in UPW, and when that was able to transition to TNA and see it on a big stage,
Yeah.
I popped hard for that.
Absolutely.
But AJ and Daniels was just one of those things that it was just lightning in a bottle. It was magic, and it went forever.
And I will throw another buddy into that mix, if I may, because one of them is inducted the other into the Indie Hall of Fame WrestleMania weekend.
Frankie Kazarian.
Frankie being on Chris's side in this with AJ. I love Frankie, but as far as that feud, just a little shit story behind it. Just fucking around back. It's like, God damn it, Frankie, get out front and do some shit for real. Like, quit being an asshole. But it was, especially with the Claire Lynch thing, which was what the hell it was. All right, I'm just going to throw that shit out there right now. But Frankie and Chris, again, you talk about shit and chicken salad. The matches were so good because it was the 3 of them. But yeah, Frankie, Daniels, and AJ, Lord, I apologize for that one there, and be with JJ's list, amen. Because goddamn good shit.
Number 6, as we start to come to middle of the road, you talked about as your number 10, one of the first feuds that like really got you into the business.
Yes, Randy and Warrior. Yep.
This right here is one of the first feuds that really roped me into the business.
Okay, so
and you want to talk about long-term storytelling. Their book begins when one of them debuts at the Survivor Series 96. The Rock and Triple H.
Yeah. Yep.
You want to talk about some long-term. Like I said, it begins at Rocky's debut. Then Rocky defeats Hunter for the IC title. Then it goes to the DX Nation. Then we get that lovely ladder match at SummerSlam 98. Then Rocky gets elevated to the main event, joins the corporation. Then Triple H turns and is corporate. So for a month, they're on the same team, which is weird.
Weird. Yeah.
And then come Backlash, Rocky turns face again.
Yep.
And now they're back on opposite sides of the fence.
As it should be.
And you think about the Iron Man match. You think about everything that these guys have been through. And it did not matter if they were across the ring in Survivor Series, like I said with Rocky's debut. Didn't matter if they were battling for the mid-card. It didn't matter if they were battling for the big title. These guys had magic every time they touched.
It didn't matter if they were in a promo battle in the middle of a WrestleMania and involving one's wife and the other's buddy at ringside. That again,
you want to talk about promo battles. You think back to, and I always remember this because I had this sound clip for years. When Rocky is going through and mocking all the WCW talents, and he's doing their catchphrases, to be the man. Oh, you got no, that's not it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, dig it. No, that's not it. And you audibly hear Hunter in the ring. Don't worry, yours is no better. It's like, God damn it, Hunter.
I mean, you're not wrong, but damn, like shit.
So good, so classic. And it was like, I could have gone Rock Foley.
You could have.
I could have gone Rock Austin.
Yes.
But this feud just meant so much more to me as a fan.
This feud is so good. They went out of their way to showcase it on Young Rock. Above any other rivalry he's had. Dwayne went, you know what? And again, that's on me for not mentioning this. But again, I love the Rock Foley feud so much because it made both of them. It really did. To be fair, Rock Hunter made both of them as well. But I think Foley was one that really got the Rock there. As much as he and Hunter did. But yeah, the Rock Hunter feud got featured on Young Rock. I mean, that's.
But if Rock and Hunter hadn't been as successful,
right,
Rocky wouldn't have been pushed to Austin.
Agreed. Again, if y'all watching over here, you know we're missing shit. So please throw it up. If you're watching on demand later, please let us know where we messed up because I done missed a few already, clearly. So please throw it out there because this may be one of the most discussable topics we've ever done because there's so much good shit in rivalries in wrestling.
And it's just a matter of what you like and what you look for.
Yeah, exactly.
And for my number 5, again, a couple of guys who are kind of like buddies to us.
Yeah.
But this went through 4 major transitions. Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, NXT, WWE main roster. Kevin Steen Owens, Sami Zayn Generico.
Oh, true. Wow.
You want to talk about long-term storytelling.
Yeah, this is my Martin McFly moment right here. This is it. I'm gonna catch shit for this one. But you're right. You're 100% right. And again, it shouldn't be a discussion.
No.
It's a freaking whiter than me ginger in a generic lucha mask, hence the gimmick name.
The generic luchador, El Generico.
Against a guy who, Kevin Steen, Regal saw something in him that a lot of us didn't see. And good on Regal for seeing it because Steen is where he is. I know you.
I always saw Steen as an incredible worker and a hell of a mic worker.
Yeah.
Did I ever see him as WWE champion? No. PWG champion, Ring of Honor champion? Yeah, I can see that.
Because it happened. But
WWE champion? No, I never would have imagined that.
Yeah.
But for his size, he's a hell of a fucking workhorse.
Yep.
And you hand him the stick, and he can be serious. He can be funny. He can be cold and calculating and manipulative. The one that surprised the hell out of me is Sammy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're the generic luchador, you're speaking in Spanish and saying stuff like "ole,"
yeah,
"si."
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to get the shtick over. We've got no freaking clue he can cut a promo to the extent that he did a couple weeks ago when he was in the ring with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there in that Jewish community center watching him say "si, ole," I had no idea that's in him.
Yeah.
And then you see that transpire on Monday Night Television, and you're like, holy shit.
When you're sitting there in that sweaty, god-awful piece of shit building, God bless the sweatbox, but for real, piece of shit building, and you're watching these guys, your mind doesn't go to, he's going to having a promo battle and a fight with Steve Austin. He's going to have a promo battle with the son of the American fucking dream in a few years. Your brain doesn't do that shit.
No.
Because you can't make it happen.
No.
And then you sit back and watch the last 2 months of television, you go, yeah, Sami Zayn, El Generico, formerly, was in the ring in a main event of a WWE pre-live event with the WWE World Champion. The in-between, granted, for WrestleMania. Kevin Steen was in the main event of a Big Four pay-per-view against the WWE Champion. And both those guys, the champion they faced, Paulie will tell you until he's blue in the goddamn face, the most successful WWE champion of the modern era, damn near of all time. Mm-hmm. And both those guys in this rivalry were in the ring with that guy
in subsequent months,
back-to-back months, leading up to what is very likely to be the biggest WrestleMania of all time.
And the year prior at WrestleMania, they both faced celebrities. Because Sami Zayn was trusted with Johnny Knoxville in a comedy spectacle, while Kevin Owens went toe-to-toe with the Texas Rattlesnake in his first match in 19 years.
And gave us a moment for WrestleMania that was a highlight. Fucking hell, was a highlight for me as a brand owner, whatever you want to call it, to have you guys and James calling that and being part of that. And we're sitting there in that little Jewish community center almost 20 years ago now. Mm-hmm. No remote thought process of that ever being a thing. Both those guys at WrestleMania, and now going to this WrestleMania, again, we're taping in advance, so sorry if we don't know it here in front of you, but both those guys very likely being in a marquee, if not a main event slot coming up here in a few days. Son of a bitch, Jay. Good. Again, that's the Marty McFly moment, Johnny Be Good for me right there, because that one should have been on my goddamn list, and that's wrong with me.
Well, the next three of mine were on your list.
Okay, good. I feel better about that.
Number 4, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
Okay, there you go.
A little bit higher on my list than you had it. I mean, the ending was what it was. And had it not been for the handshake and embrace 13 years later, then that would be the official end of the story.
Yep.
Thank God there was a little epilogue. Couple of pages added to the end of the book,
with me at your house watching live.
But everything that you talked about and that we discussed when it was discussed on your list is like, you can't get much better than that, especially when the professional rivalry becomes personal.
Yep. It's not always a good thing when that happens. But
it makes for better TV. Like I said, it became one of the first times when the lines were really blurred.
Yep.
And you didn't know what was a work and what was a shoot.
Yep. And even when they were just loathe each other, they still took care of each other in the ring too. Not only did they get it done, but they made sure that neither one of them got physically hurt. Montreal.
Even in Montreal.
Seriously.
It would have been so easy for Shawn to take liberties with Bret or Bret to take liberties with Shawn.
Yeah.
But until the sharpshooter was applied, they still took care of each other.
Yep. There was so much going on in that fight before they actually got to the ring. Shit, Bret laid Patterson down, probably for real. Bret punched Pat Patterson square across the face. And it was like, God damn, Pat's the one advocating for you, Bret. Calm the fuck down a little bit. Surprised you don't hit Vince at that point. Of course, Vince got a punch in the face later. Yes. But,
And deservedly so.
Deservedly so. And he knew it, which is why he's like, you know what, I'm going to give Bret this one. It is what it is. But, man, that's what gets it for me the most about Montreal. They just despised each other so much. And Hunter was, with all due respect to Paul Levesque, was such Shawn's bitch. And Owen and Davey and Jim had no business taking care of DX when they did. And they still managed to get through that and not get anybody seriously freaking hurt. Mm-hmm. They could have very easily just beat the shit out of each other and gone to business for themselves. Whatever. Nobody did. And you watch that conversation on the documentary where they're in the car with Honky talking about what Sean, I don't respect you back or whatever. I'm not going to do the job for you. Honky's face is going, somebody get the fuck out of him. It's going to keep going like this because Honky's old school. It's like, I'm surprised, and as a fan, I'm proud of those two for not going that far. And like you said, luckily we had an epilogue, and it was beautiful. Do we kind of go at Brett and go, never going to be a storyline? Huh? You sure about that, Brett? With Vince? But man, him and Sean, and that shit was real. Him and Sean in the ring, having that moment. And even in that moment, when Sean's leaving the ring, he's looking over his shoulder like, do I kick him? Do I kick him? And he goes and he embraces him. It's like, oh, okay, good.
And the fact that they're still friends.
Yeah.
They still message each other. They still
Right.
talk to each other now. I wish that Brett would come to the PC.
I know.
With Sean booking, like, could you imagine if he called Brett, be like, hey, I want you to come down and talk to these kids.
Yep.
That would be the ultimate olive branch.
Right? It's unfortunate. Brett, has mended most of the fences at this point. He's burned in his post WWF WCW life. But
Billy Boy, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Well, I will wear my pink and black and side with Brett on that nonsense. I don't give a shit what people think of me for saying that. I don't give a fuck.
You know what? At the end of the day, when it comes to that, I don't think Goldberg meant.
I know he didn't.
It's like we know Goldberg was sloppy in the ring.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why it happened, because he's sloppy.
Absolutely.
He didn't mean to do it.
Of course not.
He's apologized numerous times for it.
Yes, absolutely.
There just comes a point, much like with Sean in Montreal, where Brett has to let it go.
I know. Well,
it would be different if Goldberg did that with malicious intent.
Well, of course. So there are very few instances where there's even coming back a decade or more later, one person wants to make peace, the other one clearly doesn't. It looks like Brett never wants to make peace. But that's on Brett at this point. If Bill tries and he apologizes in public or, makes some sort of public gesture to try, and Brett says, no, that's on Brett. I just don't like Bill because he hung up on us. So piss on that guy.
I know you don't like Bill for other reasons, but still.
But yeah, did my fandom side? Yeah, Goldberg took Brett away from us. Yeah, it does. And it's stupid and it's irrational. It's all these years later. But it's like, we could have got NWO 2000 could have actually worked if Brett would have been healthy.
True.
To be fair.
But then again, Jeff Jarrett was leading that. So,
But hey, Jeff Jarrett, NWO 2. And a horseman.
Jeff Jarrett leading Bret Hart. Can we think about this for a minute?
Well, no. Jeff only led it because Bret got hurt.
That's true.
Okay. Let's not.
But still, Kevin Nash didn't take over.
No, Nash too busy being the commissioner. Matter of fact, I'm pretty
Scotty Steiner couldn't take over.
This guy crazy.
But there are at least actual NWOites from back in the day. Like we got tenure here, motherfucker. You got your hair cut by Howard Finkel and 6.
I think this is me looking back now almost 20 years later, but I think what happened was
Vince Russo was booking.
Well, actually, no, Vince wasn't even booking at this point. He'd been sent home. This was that stupid Sullivan committee bullshit before Bischoff came back. What the hell happened? Okay, so Nash beats Terry Funk, I think, for the commissionership, which the fuck ever.
Because it's a championship. You got to defeat someone for.
Damn it, Russo and Sullivan and goddamn WCW 2000. Anyway, I think at this point the NWO was still a unit, but because Brett had been hurt and was off TV, Jarrett, Nash, Hall, and I think Scotty and the Hairy Brothers were still part of it. And I think what happened was Jarrett was trying to challenge Sid for the world title. I want to say it was at Super Brawl, but Nash wanted to put his buddy, Scott Hall, in that thing. So there was strife between Jarrett as the needing to be champion and Nash as the commissioner. And that's where the leadership battle happened, I think. If I'm wrong, correct me. Wherever y'all want to correct me. It's been a long goddamn time. I've had a few concussions since the winter of 2000, so forgive me if my memory is not so good. But I think that's what happened. And yeah, remember, this is the same week that freaking Sid Vicious won the world championship and then did it again. In front of your ass at Thunder. So, there is that. Because goddamn that company. Anyway, please get us back on.
Got to know.
Stevie Ray was a commentator because of this shit. Let me just throw that out there right now.
So number 3, you're probably going to be surprised that it's number 3 for me.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
Okay.
Piper Hogan.
Oh, okay. I am impressed by that, actually. Yeah.
I mean, knowing me and my love for Piper, you probably would expect it to be 2 or 1, but
no, because
considering what I have coming up, I figured that was the best I could put it.
I honestly am not surprised where it is, because as much as you love Roddy, you are not a Hulkamaniac, and that feud, for the most part, was Hogan dominated.
Agreed.
Hogan done ruled that Roddy. He never cleanly beat him. I will give Roddy his flowers because he's true. He never beat him, clearly. At least in WWE. WCW. But I'm not surprised it's only number 3 because you do love Roddy.
I put Brett and Shawn above this and put this at 4. But I felt like I'd get the stink eye if it wasn't at least top 3.
Not for me, you would. Because I think Brett and Shawn was a better rivalry because it was longer tenured and it was good back and forth. Hogan, as much as he didn't beat Piper cleanly, Piper was never going to get that shot, which is bullshit. I sit here now and say that, but
I still say that Piper should have won it at the War to settle the score.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then
Hogan Piper Mania is the rematch, and Hogan gets the belt back.
I think if they hadn't already done that with Wendy and Moolah and Leilani, they probably would have done it that way. And right or wrong, because Cindy was very much part of that, and that was her match. Do they do the exact same booking with both matches at the top? Yeah. Again, Roddy should have been champion. I don't disagree with that. But they were trying, as much as WrestleMania was a success, obviously, we've got the 39th one coming up here in a few days. I think it would have been too many ingredients in the chili pot if both world championships have basically the same story, where the heel gets the one up at February, and then both baby faces give them their comeuppance at WrestleMania. Granted, it's a beautiful formula, but it's almost, if you do it with both of them, it's too predictable. So if they're going to do it with either of them, one or the other, it should have been Roddy. And I agree with that. Because Wendy going in as champion doesn't bother me. Wendy winning it when she did and then losing it right away to Leilani was bullshit. If Wendy's going to win, then she should have been challenging Moolah, and then not win it until Mania. Leilani being there was what it was. So if either of them, if it was going to be one or the other, it should have been Roddy. I firmly agree with that part of it.
Number 2 for me was your number 1.
Oh.
Kane and The Undertaker.
Interesting.
As you said, greatest story WWE ever told.
Absolutely.
So if that is only my number 2.
And number 1 is one we do not share.
Correct.
Ooh, I am curious.
And you kind of alluded to it earlier as you removed it from your number 1 spot.
See? Okay.
WWF versus WCW versus ECW.
Okay.
All 3 brands, because you think about where WWF was when Nitro began.
Yep.
You think about the inaugural Nitro with Lex Luger making his return to the company. Whatever we thought about Lex then, whatever we think about Lex now.
Right.
Lex coming back to the company was a huge boost in the arm for WCW.
Absolutely.
You think about where it went from there. You think about the formation of the NWO. You think about Austin 316 and the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. You think about ECW and how they were supposed to get their pay-per-view deal earlier, and it got taken away from them because of mass transit.
Yes.
We've talked on multiple occasions, butterfly effect. What happens to ECW if they get pay-per-view when they're supposed to? It's a whole new game. You think about how WCW is signing away ECW guys. You think about how WWF is signing ECW guys. You think about the ECW invasion on Raw. And then, as you mentioned earlier during your Raven Dreamer thing, Lawler showing up at WrestlePalooza with RVD and Sabu and Sonny.
Yeah.
And you've got the entire Raw invading ECW. You think about the Dudleys departing and Raven returning on the same night. You think about how Eric Bischoff was so balls deep in this that he goes onto Nitro and challenges Vince McMahon to a match, knowing he wasn't going to do it.
Oh, with Hogan even telling him he might show up.
You think about DX trying to drive the tank into the Norfolk Scope and what that Nitro could have been if Eric Bischoff had just let them drive in, because if memory serves correctly with the stories, Nash is in the ring. The NWO is in the ring.
Yeah.
So you've got a Click reunion on Nitro television.
No, yeah,
because you've got Hunter and Sean Waltman, not Michaels.
Yeah.
You've got Nash and Hall in the ring.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Outlaws and Joni too.
Yeah.
You've got a Click reunion on Nitro.
Yeah.
And Eric Bischoff was dumb enough to close the gate.
Because Kevin was even saying, if I'm not in the ring, I'm at that gate going, open the fucking door. But,
You've got WCW giving away Raw results on the air. Yeah. If you're interested, the guy that used to compete here as Cactus Jack is going to win the WWF Championship. I'll put asses in seats.
Click. Okay, I'll watch that instead of this bullshit. Yeah, dude.
This was not a feud. This was not a rivalry. This was war. And that is why it is number one. There were literal shots fired out of that tank. This is war. And when a feud transcends into a war, you can't help but put it as number one.
That's a valid reasoning, and I'm glad I took it off the list now, because that was epic shit you just did. That was good stuff. I appreciate that, and I thought when you gave me that look when I said I took it off, I'm like, he put it on his list. But that's okay. So good on you that was beautiful weaving. I will give another honorable mention when you mentioned that I was surprised as far as indie that I didn't mention. I thought sure you were going to mention Adam Pearce and Cole Cabana.
That was good.
It was so
good.
It was so good that to this day, because Adam, God bless him, put the entire playlist of all the matches and the documentary on his YouTube, I earmarked that shit, or bookmark, whatever you want to call it. You talk about a feud that shouldn't have meant a goddamn thing because it was in the pre-Billy Corgan NWA years, or the post-TNA NWA years, more importantly. These two guys took that 10 pounds of gold, replica, like the replica you got sitting over there, and went, let's see what we can do with this. And man, they made me believe in the NWA brand again.
And when you think that it wasn't even supposed to be Adam,
no,
it was supposed to be some jabroni from Aberdeen, Washington named Brian Danielson.
Yeah.
Who, because of a detached retina, didn't get to fight in the finals and win the 10 pounds of gold. I wonder what he's doing these days, you know?
Well, I know for sure he wasn't at his wife's podcast last week or whatever. We're a month removed on the air, but I just fucked that kayfabe all the hell. That's all right. It's all good. Everybody knows we pre-tape, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, from what I hear, he's busy on Wednesday night, so he wasn't able to be at his wife's podcast. But that's okay. We love him anyway. Hopefully, he was getting his head kicked in, which actually was that night. It was a brutal match, but God bless Brian anyway.
But I mean,
again, yeah. There's photograph evidence because Marquez posted it after the fact of Brian with the 10 pounds of gold on his shoulder. It's like, man, what could have been, but what emerged from the oh shit. Because, man, Pierce, again, if you've only seen Adam Pierce as the WWE official, you are shortchanging your damn self. And Adam will be the first to tell you, he is happy with his life. He's happy not taking bumps no more. Because he beat to hell. God bless him. He was a legit traveling WWE world champion. Every step of those 5 years. Colt
he put some respect back on that goal.
And Colt would have the first time had he had the opportunity, not had Tharp and his dipshit minions, put the belt on the Sheik. With all respect to the Sheik, if you're friends with the original, not the original Sheik, the original Sheik's bad. The guy that wasn't the Iron Sheik, the other Sheik, or whatever the hell I forget how they define his version of the Sheik, but this guy, again, but then they hit the reset button, 7 levels of hate. And from the moment Cabana regains the championship, again, both title wins in front of us, first stage, first blood, both in front of us. And but that promo Adam cut when he lost the title again and challenges into the 7, and it's black and white and it's grainy and it's just, and he's just so if I can't beat you, I don't belong. And to Adam's credit, it ended up being a 9-match series because he had a couple more matches with Adam, and I think he had a match with Aceel as well. Adam stayed retired. He's not had a match since 2012, 13, whatever it is. He may be the one I thought Shawn Michaels was going to be and actually retire for real. The thing with Roman Reigns on TV notwithstanding, because come on, y'all, really. But that rivalry, again, it wasn't on my list because the other 10 rivalries I mentioned are just so ingrained in my brain forever as a fan. But both those guys, as our friends, and like you said, they put some stank respect on the NWA Championship, which was much needed after the NWA Championship, after the TNA breakup. So
another one that I want to give an honorable mention to kind of goes to the rivalries, not quite feud thing that I spoke of in the beginning of the show. And we're going to go back to the bingo halls.
Oh,
the whole fucking show versus Jerry Lynn.
Oh, man. Yep. Because, that was so good between the two of them. Every time.
Mm-hmm. Most of their matches, they were both faces. It was literal one-upsmanship.
Yeah.
It wasn't really until Jerry became champion that it became like face heel and, can RVD finally become ECW champion?
It was just such a shame that when Jerry became champion, they really didn't get to touch because Rob was still in his contract bullshit with Paul. But they were the last official ECW pay-per-view match. Mm-hmm. And it was supposed to be Rob and Rhino, who had just obliterated the Sandman for the title. And Jerry's like, nah, you're not going to take this. You got to go through me one more time. Even their throwaway match on WWF TV when Jerry was the light heavyweight champion was still so good. These two guys, and there's a reason that Tony Khan brought Jerry Lynn in as a coach. There's a reason that Rob and Jerry are still so venerated by so many of us. Not just because I'm Rob's friend, not just because Jerry's one of my favorite people I've ever met. They just had that spark between the two of them, and they were both so good even without each other in the ring.
When Jericho was going on his Reign of Jericho terror, I wanted to see Jericho and Lynn.
Right.
Like, I thought that when Jerry Lynn came out that night on the stage to kind of start pulling off people, I was like, oh, please set up Jericho and Jerry Lynn. Please, God, please.
He's more Ring of Honor champion. Why not?
But they didn't go there, and I was bummed.
But
I think they could have done so much more with that, with the Reign of Jericho championship. But
yeah, it'd be kind of cool to have Jericho be the Ring of Honor champion going into the Supercard. I'm not going to lie, but it is what it is. Claudio's so awesome. I'm glad he's champion again. In any event, that was a lot more than we planned. And there's definitely ones we missed.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. There's so many even decent, let alone good, quality, great, epic, astronomical rivalries in wrestling. You mentioned, again, there's a war.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was the only true long-term war between the companies. Crockett really wasn't a battle at that point.
See,
Vince had already...
That was another one that was really going through my head that I was contemplating, and it was going to be the Four Horsemen versus Jim Crockett Promotions.
Right?
Because it literally was the Horsemen versus the world.
It was. And
I honestly
you know
I honestly just could not find a good enough Crockett logo that I wanted to use to do that. But that definitely gets an honorable mention from me.
Here we go. Put it ready. 1, 2, boom. There it is. There you go.
Horsemen versus Crockett Promotion.
Because they goddamn faced everybody in the company at some point or another.
It's like WCW made it a video game back in the 90s. WCW versus the world. It literally was the Horsemen versus the world back then.
They really did. And
because every time you thought that they were befriending somebody, that they were making an ally, bam!
Nope. Hi, fool you. Just kidding.
There is only room for 4 of us. 5 if you counted JJ.
It's funny when you first said the phrase, I thought you meant lawsuit battles behind the scenes because that shit was going on all the time too, especially with Tully and Nate. Oh my God. You figure because
Ric Flair versus Jim Herd. and my ultimate honorable mention.
All right, here we go.
Jeff Meacham versus John Laurinaitis.
Oh, fuck.
When you were so well known by the WWE brass that you go to a Bella podcast and get the stink eye from across the room by John Laurinaitis, the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations.
Former.
You know that you are made. I told this man in the car as we were driving over here to do tape today. If you ever start to feel down on yourself about who Jeff motherfucking Meacham is in the world of podcasting and professional wrestling, you remember that.
I know.
Johnny Ass, Laryngitis, knows who you are and gave you the don't even look my way.
And I had more than one person. To your credit, I had you. I had the lady that's in the center of all this mess, and a couple of people advise, don't approach, let it go, don't do anything. Because for once you are the agent of chaos, and I love you and appreciate you for that.
Even though I was in the car in retrospect saying,
yeah.
What he should have done is gone up to him because you're raised in the world of pro wrestling that when you meet somebody, you walk up, you shake their hand. Mr. Laurinaitis, my name is Jeff Meacham. I'm a podcaster. I don't know if you know about that or not, but it would be awesome if there was some way I could try to get you for an interview on my talk show. And you just let him just be whatever he's going to be.
Right.
Because if he shakes your hand and is polite to you,
then he's my bitch.
Everybody there knows that he's full of shit. And like he said, he's now his bitch. If he makes a scene, then he's a grade A dick to you in front of the entire world.
And he's still my bitch.
So he loses either way.
And again, the people in the room that know, notwithstanding, I've told a lot of people that I saw Ace after the show where I first heard about his bullshit. And I told him to his face, get out of mine because I'll punch you next time I see you. I did. I told him that to his face. And he knows that, and that's fine. But it's been damn near 12 years. Seriously. Now, in his defense, briefly, although it's more my defense than anything else, when I first found out he was at this podcast, I was well deep, and I mean deep, times 2 glasses of very strong concoctions. It's a Bella's podcast. There's going to be strong booze there. It is what it is. So I was ready to throw hands. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Let's just do the thing. And to her credit, Kalea's like, sit down. Because she knew if I start shit and she's with me, she ain't ever going to see Brie or Nikki again. It ain't going to be a thing. And she's going to lose that. Now, I would have been mad at myself for that. But yeah, 12 years. He still can't let shit go.
No.
And at the end of the day, we have been very unkind to him, to Vince, to whoever, based on stuff that at the really, and I mentioned this in private to a lot of people. We'll never really know what happened with this hush money bullshit. We'll never really know.
But you can buy the Hush Money in the Bank shirt on
ProWrestlingTees.com/Jeff Meacham Network. Thank you. All I know about my interactions with John Laurinaitis is, I guess you call it second party being on the phone, and then face-to-face a couple weeks later when they were in LA. That's it. Everything else is, with all brief moment of respect, it's all Dave Meltzer reporting or the like, third or fourth party at least. We're Ron White at this point on that. We're third generation not knowing the fuck's going on.
That's fair.
But having that knowledge of not really knowing, and me trying to make the nice after sobering up in a hurry because his ass was there, I still get the stink eye, like you said. So if you want to throw an honorable mention out there for it, I will take it and run, because you know what? If it's a rivalry that's still standing, I still win because I'm still renting space in that motherfucker's head. Mm-hmm. I was ready to walk out that door and shake his hand and go, good to see you. Glad you had a good time watching your girls on stage. Nope. I get stink eye. His wife gave me a nod of hello. His stepson got the bro hug from JJ, not this one, the Bella brother. I got Nicole's husband, who I've been a fan of watching the Stars all these years, give acknowledgement and say, because he knows who I am too. Let's be real. It's one of those, I understand, bro. Bravo, and God bless you. Because we know. But to have Brianna, just how much she misses me, how much Brian misses me, how much he misses us, and have the acknowledgement in front of God. God damn it, I'm getting all fucked up here. In front of God and everybody, just made every bit of that stink eye worth it. So yeah, I will take the honorable mention and run with it. And as I said multiple times 2 weeks ago, fuck you, John.
But again, what did you guys think? Who did we leave out? Let us know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over there next to Meacham. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that we're always asking you guys for in the comments below.
Yes, please like this show. And if you didn't like it, let us know why. Give us the review you feel we've earned on this show.
Absolutely.
Please subscribe to the channels, both of them, whatever show you're watching on. Please subscribe.
All the channels in the Multiverse of Media.
Yes, but definitely
let's try to get everybody's numbers up.
Yes, but we want to make sure we get his goal met. We've only got, it's March 6th, so we've got a little less than 30 days. So it was 25 days, really. So get the numbers up on the Casa, get him watched, but make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, but definitely the interactions. Those are the key, folks. Much as I appreciate the super chat, as much as the fact that I'm going to get another quarter payout twice in the same quarter in a couple weeks, we're nothing without the interactions. We're nothing without the feedback and knowing what we're doing right, or importantly, what we're doing wrong, or what you guys don't like.
And share the videos.
Please. Oh my God.
90% of y'all out there are part of the IWC.
It's true.
I'm sure you guys are in wrestling groups on Facebook, copy the link, put it in the groups, share it.
Yes.
Share it on your Twitters, the tweeter.
Yes.
Share it out there. Get the word out about us because we've been doing these shows on and off for 12 years. And we're pushing 3 years consistently since we relaunched in 2020.
That's true. It's true.
So get the word out about us. That's another way you're going to help boost the numbers.
Oh, honorable mention that I know you wanted to bring up and it got lost in the sauce here. GG versus JC.
Yes.
Hasn't paid off yet, to be clear.
Yeah.
But
we've still got a lot of time in that. I'm sure they're going to have a match at Stand and Deliver.
One would think.
In LA.
I know.
Hopefully we can be there for that.
Right.
But
like I said a couple weeks ago,
the fact that they recreated the barber shop with Sean's blessing and encouragement.
Because he's booking that shit.
And then to try to have to live up to that legacy.
Right.
Just
I will say
the question becomes who becomes Sean and who becomes Marty.
But the most important thing in all of that recreation of that moment, Bailey is a far sight better looking than Bruce the fucking Barber Beefcake.
This is true.
And
this is true.
And we'll leave it at that.
And Gigi is the coward that just threw herself into the door.
That's right. And JC definitely wearing the leather jacket a little bit more sexy than Shawn Michaels. If we're going to be, with all due respect to Shawn, because
I mean, he may be a sexy boy,
but he's not my boy, Toy.
No. So there we go. And that's how we're going to leave it. In 2 weeks, we will be back as we inch even closer to WrestleMania.
We on that final week, brother.
With our top 10 WrestleMania main events of all time. Now, these aren't matches that are billed as main events on the card. Because there have been matches that have been like second out on a WrestleMania card that are billed as a main event.
Edge and Alberto.
We are talking about the final match of the night.
Yes.
Once we got into 2-night manias, so the last 2 years since this one hasn't happened yet, or 3 years? Okay. So since WrestleMania 36.
Yeah, 2020 Pandemic Mania was the first one.
Okay. So starting with WrestleMania 36, we will include night 1 as well as night 2. We're not just going to do the last match of night 2.
No.
Because WWE figured that the roster was so stacked and that the matches booked were so good that we had to do 2 nights so we didn't have another WrestleMania transit incident
for 35.
So yeah. So night 1 and night 2 both are eligible.
Well, because figure if we eliminate night 1, then we lose Sasha Bianca as a contender, which is bullshit. That was damn good.
Yeah.
You know. So but yes, the final night, the final match of each night of WrestleMania, however many there were that year. So there's still 40? See,
41.
35, 36, 37, 38. Yeah. 41 to choose
Contenders
from that we have to think about in the next 2 weeks. May God have mercy on our souls.
So we will be back to discuss that in 2 weeks. Until then,
yes,
as we try to rest our voices for what will be a tumultuous WrestleMania week.
Yes. And try to talk over the damn shit outside because they loud up in here.
He is the West Coast professor, Jeff motherfucking Meacham.
That's right.
Rival of John Laurinaitis.
Because, fuck you, asshole. He is the Renegade of Wrestling. Again this week, JJ Williams. We are the dads. Not always on wrestling, except this month always because it's March and that's what we do on this show.
WrestleMania month.
It's WrestleMania month. It is what it, although
even I am doing wrestling on
the
Renegade
yes.
reviews. So
and again, God bless this poor man for putting himself through yet another month of wrestler-centric, either starring or featured movies because he loves his craft that much that he wants to put up with that boosh for a month.
At least I don't have to deal with any Hogan shit this month. I think I did all his already.
There ain't that much, thankfully. Roddy, on the other hand,
Yeah, there is a Roddy.
There is a Roddy
film
one this month, and it's not They Live. So, yeah. But for every one of those, there's a bounty hunters with multiple people in it, including Trish Stratus and her.
Trish and her Stratus.
Trish and her Stratus is looking like Pam Anderson and barbed wire because, yay. And there's good and bad. Like in everything in life, there's good and bad. And Lord knows JJ has to review some bad shit on his shows every now and again.
Like I always say, they can't all be Citizen Kane.
Well, no, because you'd be sitting watching movies forever. As long as that shit is. But I'm still determined to eat you on Titanic at least once on the reviews before the end of the run.
We'll see what happens.
That's a long one too.
We'll see what happens.
In any event, we've kept you long enough on this Monday. We're gonna let you go and catch out the second to last Monday before WrestleMania on Raw. So God bless you guys. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
Next time.